Okay, for the
All right.
recording, it's me and Azrael versus someone from One Piece. The topic is Shanks versus
Lucas
Kaido.
Logan.
We have Shanks, they have Kaido. The agreed upon judge for this debate is Nani and Ocean Feature. So yeah, you guys can start first.
All right. Um, Logan, how exactly do you want to start off?
I don't know. You got it, bro. I'll just rap whatever you argue.
All right. I'll just send it a scan in tandem. Just a sec. Main chat to start with.
Just in the scans chat.
Fuck. I already sent it in main chat. Just look at main chat. Okay. Um. So my premise is that Kaido is combatively superior to Shanks, and that's just supported by a statement where it literally says that he's one of the strongest of the Yonko.
Let me read the statement. So your claim is that he's just one of the strongest of the Yonkos?
Well, that he's the two strongest, including Big Mom. So it just put Big
Luffy
Mom.
and his friends defeated the Beast Pirates executives one after another. The only ones left are the two strongest of the four emperors. Yep, there's two issues. Just read it one more time. Yep, wait, why is this canon?
Well, it comes from Psycho Jump, which is made by Shueisha and Oda. Like, there's an inductive argument to be made that Oda does support like extracurricular data books. So if he does do that commonly with stuff like the Fury card and some of the color data books, then there's inductive precedence for him to do so with Psycho Jump here. And there's no explanation unless you can give. There's no explanatory power to assume
Oh
the
my.
opposite.
So just to be clear, your reason for why we should think it be canon is via like induction, right? Like it just seems to be that Oda supports external information towards One Piece. And your examples are um what is it? The color books and the viewer cards. So one, I don't think those two examples would be valid as the viewer cards is outright stated to be canon by Oda himself. And then for the color data books, I would need evidence for that. Yeah. So I just need evidence for like the color books. So right now you only have like one
Okay, I'll
scan.
give.
And it being like situation, like I don't see what that makes it canon.
I'll get a scan and then say my
Wait, Lucas,
one
what
sec.
scan do you want? Because I might already have it.
No, I already have it. Like, wait, is it here? Yeah, I have it. I have it. Don't worry.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
cheap
You type it.
scan.
Keep scan chat. All right, where's the scan
Just like,
chat?
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah. There's something. There's
Like
something his argument.
Okay. I don't.
the
Scans chat.
breakdown. Movements to two of the four
Okay.
emperors. Oh, it's a mistranslation. What the hell? Luffy and his
Okay.
crew have defeated the Beast
One sec.
Pirates
One sec.
executive.
Trouble. Let's go with what you already said as one contention. Wait, Azrael. We can go over that later. You provided one contention. I'm not going to be
Okay.
shotgun, all right? Let's go over what Trouble said earlier. The
Oh no,
canonicity point.
it's not a shotgun. It's not a shotgun. Just to be clear,
No,
but sure. Where did these two
because
scans that you sent? Hold on. Where did these two scans that you sent, and what did they prove?
okay, so in these scans, right, what is emphasizing for the use of canon of the color data books as information sources for his manga, right? And to go on with what you said earlier, yes, Oda does explicitly state the Vero card to be canon, but that only supports my argument that he does do this with extra sources, and that's just proof that he does acknowledge an extra source like the Vero card is canon. So if he does this, right, there's an inductive precedent for him giving canonicity and okay to Shueisha licensed sources like the color data books and like the Vero card. So there's more explanatory power for him to accept this as
Oh, One
canon.
Piece Yellow. Yeah, I agree that the only two things that he's confirmed canon are the One Piece Data Book Yellow and the Viva cards. But why does that like lead to like other things? For example, Data Book
I
Blue,
I
any
just
other
gave you
data book being canon?
I just gave the
Yeah, I don't
argument.
think you're understanding. No. I'm explaining that these two things are the only ones that are confirmed to be canon by Oda, right? So if that's the case, that is not built like some probability increaser for Shueisha like publicizing things to also be canon. That doesn't like agree. That doesn't make it likely. Where did my teammate go? Oh my
What?
gosh,
I guess we can wait for him.
my teammate left. Hold on, bro. Did you like type in chat?
No, he didn't say anything yet.
Okay, can we wait for my teammate to come back? Give him like 5 minutes, please.
That's fine. We'll give him like 5 minutes, and if he doesn't, then we'll see where we go from there.
All right. Alright.
Then he said to call his dad, just like keep going.
Nah, right, just wait for him.
Yeah, that's alright. You shouldn't take that long, anyways.
He is not coming back, bro. Bro,
No
keep
worries.
going.
Alright, he's back. Azrael? Mr. Azrael?
Oh
Are you
my
there?
gosh.
Mr. Azrael? Azrael?
Yeah, I'm here. What is it?
Okay, so we can continue the debate, right? Because you momentarily left the call.
Yes. Yeah. I just
Okay.
had to call my dad.
Okay.
Okay. So is Aries done with this
Wait a minute.
argument?
Yeah, so Azrael,
Yeah,
just to be clear right now. Hold on, Azrael, just to be clear. The argument that they're proposing for external things like One Piece being canon is that it seems to be there's like a consistent case or likelihood that Oda gives canon to things that are published by Shueisha. My argument, well, our argument is just that the two examples that they're using shouldn't be taken to be included within this data set, as Oda himself explicitly says that these two things are canon, which shouldn't, like, that wouldn't like establish any likelihood for other sources being persuasive being canon. That's where we're at right now.
Okay. So
Okay.
we're going under the assertion that the only thing that's our canon are the ones confirmed by Oda himself.
Yes. So anything outside of that, we
Okay.
would need like we would need like external evidence for that.
Okay, so
Okay. Gotcha.
yep. I'll just attack this by saying that
Wait, hold on, Lucas. Wait, Lucas, what does this canon prove right here?
the scan. Let me actually read it.
Also, Lucas, do you have the original Japanese of these scans?
One sec.
I don't think we need to go that far.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the same time, yeah. This one is just for the Databook Blue. Because you mentioned Databook Blue wasn't actually said here. He only mentions yellow and green, but this is also to show that he did the same thing for blue.
Okay, so all you're really doing is just proving our point that the only things that we are going to take to be canon are things that Oda himself say that is canon. Why does that then build a likelihood that things that Oda has not said to be canon are going to be canon? Like, you're
One
just
sec.
agreeing with us, bro. Do you want to move
Okay.
on? Okay.
No, because that in no way attacks the inductive, right? My inductive relies on the fact that extracurricular sources like the Very Card and like numerous color data books are licensed and approved by Oda for use, right? So the fact that they are explicitly, we can agree that they're explicitly stated
Wait,
to be
let's not
canon.
talk fast. Just wait, hold on. You're talking fast. Just
My
calm
bad.
tone down, repeat it. Okay.
Let me slow
No,
it
just repeat it.
down. Okay.
Just
So
repeat it.
sorry. I was been. So the point that I'm trying to make though is that this agreeing that they're canon only just furthers and in no way attacks my inductive argument. But the inductive relies on these to be canon to show that Oda has a precedent for accepting extra material as canon, which we've agreed that they are accepted as canon. So with that being said, that in no way attacks the inductive. And in addition to that, these, like, for example, Saikyo Jump here is part of the publishing for One Piece, right? So it's like if Oda didn't check these, right? If Oda didn't verify these and allow these and support them to be canon sources, then it would go against the fact that it would just misinform readers of the manga, which gives a logical precedence for why he does this in the first place with the Very Card and other stuff, because they're advertised as information for the One Piece manga. So the problem is that if Sakyo Jump weren't to be vetted by Oda, it runs the risk of misinforming readers about information. So those are the reasons why it doesn't really make sense to say, oh yeah, they're confirmed to be canon, so that attacks my argument, because in no way does it.
Yeah, so the majority of that was just you begging the question as you just repeated yourself. But for the last part, you did mention something new, so I'll just ask you to repeat that because I was like reading something.
Okay, the new part that I mentioned, right, in addition to
The misinformative point. I've heard everything else is just like a repeat. I just need like the misinformative point repeated.
the misinformation point is the fact that Saikyo Jump is giving information on the One Piece manga, right? So the problem is if Oda didn't vet this properly and accept it, right, then it runs the risk of misinforming readers by saying information that is just simply not true and is prone to be contradicted in the series, which gives a logical precedent for why he's done this with other data books in the first place, like the River Cards and the colored ones.
So just to be clear, here's okay. One, what do you mean by vet? Like I'm giving like approval of it?
Basically, yeah. Like to confirm that shit's canon.
Okay. Okay, so your whole point is that if Oda doesn't give his approval of it being canon, it's just gonna run the risk of spreading misinformation.
Yeah.
Okay, one, Oda can like not give his approval upon something, and it can just be recognized that okay, this said thing is not canon. So if it's not canon, then we should just not take whatever this information says to be the case. And if like a reader does take this and brings it up to Oda, he himself can just say, okay, yeah, this isn't canon. That doesn't prove anything.
Oh,
And two, for like our point not attacking the induction, the whole point of the induction is that we have like these licensed material that are published by Shueisha. It seems to be the case that they're always canon. Therefore, it was a likelihood towards everything else also being canon or likely being canon. But what's in question is whether or not those things. No, no, no. The reason why those are canon is because we're just simply saying, okay, Oda himself comes out and says these are canon, not Shueisha. So again, it attacks like the basis of the gosh, it attacks the foundation of the induction itself for what it's being based off of, and you haven't provided anything external to that for why we would take it to be the case.
Okay.
So the conclusion that things external to the manga should be taken to be canon is still in question and needs to be validated.
Okay. The problem. Okay. I'll attack the misinformation point. The problem is right that even though it's possible that like the readers can just decide to not accept that it's canon, right? They could do the opposite, like me, and think that it is canon, and this, and at the same time,
Wait,
right?
could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you. Bro.
One sec, one sec. Um, no, fuck. No, my bad. I was looking at something else. Okay, the point is that even though it is possible that like the readers of the Psycho Jump will not take this as canon, it still isn't like readers can still be prone to actually thinking that this is genuine information and
There's an
be
issue with
misled.
that though. Because like, okay, let's say that there are readers who take this to be canon. The other readers, such as myself and Azrael and many other people from the One Piece community, if they bring up this information, we can correct them and say, yo, this hasn't been confirmed to be canon, so you shouldn't take this to be the case. That's all there is to it. This has been done many times where, for example, if I send like some Spanish data book that says Kaido has like the biggest dick of like all One Piece characters, you can say, yo, that's in Spanish. We don't know if Oda has any authority over that or has confirmed it to be canon. So just to be clear, we shouldn't probably use that.
The problem
So
is
that's like
right
the
when
part that they're like leaving out. What's the problem with that?
the, the problem is though it still runs the risk that even though it's possible that someone who's misinformed can be corrected, it's not guaranteed, so it still runs the risk of misinforming people. And to add on to that, right, Oda doesn't just display that he like Oda displays in general just he does not like it when he misinforms readers, right? Not
Wait, like
just
Lucas turned on his camera like a light out.
okay,
Lucas,
first
like when he turned on his camera, like it like yeah, can you just repeat that real quick?
okay, sorry. Okay. The problem
No, I'm
is
just asking like Logan like
yeah, I know what you said. I know what you said. I'm saying that just because it's possible that somebody can correct a misinformed reader doesn't make it like doesn't guarantee that it will happen. So it can still run the risk of me leaving someone misinformed. And even in SPS questions where people will note mistakes that Oda's
can we
made,
move on?
1 second, I'm not fucking done. Jesus. Anyways, this and still fucking bitch is telling me, "Lol, can we move on?" Okay, my bad. I
Bro,
crashed
totally
out.
my teammate.
Lucas,
So,
you
so
a 50-year-old man talking on Discord. Shut the fuck out, dude.
all right. Anyways, so the point is
Okay, so
right
I
that
understand your point.
I'm not
Like
done.
your
I'm not done.
point
I'm not
from
done. I'm
now
not
is
done.
just that
I'm not done.
okay,
Listen, 1 sec.
it's okay.
My point is right that because it still runs the risk of potentially keeping that reader misinformed, even if it's possible that someone corrects them. That still runs the risk that I provided, right? And at the same time, Oda does show shame, even when people like point out mistakes in like the SBS. You'll still show shame in the fact that he caused that misinformation in the first place. So it's not in character, right, for Oda to think that just because he might make a mistake or there might be something that could be seen as not canon and that somebody can correct them, that means that it's okay for him to do.
Yeah, okay, so one, we would need evidence that Oda feels shame whenever somebody brings up something that isn't canon and he forgot to, correct them or tell them about it. Two, the whole misinformation point, you're not really like adding anything new. You're just kind of like repeating yourself by saying, okay, well, even if we like accept what you're saying, that doesn't like change the fact that like they can still be misinformed. They can still be misinformed. But the whole point is that we're not saying that it's possible somebody can correct them. We're saying it's plausible because if they see it as a statement that, okay, yeah, a power scaling statement, by the way, so it's most likely going to be brought up in power scaling discussions and YouTube videos and other social medias, where it says, oh, yeah, Kaido and Big Mom are stated to be stronger than Shanks and Blackbeard, and somebody can say, "Yo, this is just wrong." So you still haven't like gone against the fact that if somebody brings out this statement, that misinformation will be corrected. And then two, if somebody just thinks to himself, "Well, has Oda approved of this? Has Oda said anything about this? Who is like this jumps saying anything about it?" Like you still haven't really gone against it. You just kind of
Okay.
repeated yourself. But we do need evidence for like the shame part, and it being context to this.
The problem is, right, that what you said in a way attacks the problem that even though it's possible, right, that this can like a mistake, a bad thing can be corrected. Just because it can be corrected doesn't mean it's necessary to be corrected, meaning it's still like it's a bad thing because it runs the risk of not being corrected. So even though someone can, help them out, that just doesn't in any way go against the argument that this is still inherently bad and may not be corrected. And I'll give you proof. Look in the scans chat that Oda, somebody like comments on how like Oda like he misled people by not drawing Garp's scar, even though Garp is known to have a scar, right? And he shows shame in doing this. He's
Not
like, my bad.
analogous.
What?
Yeah, this isn't analogous because you're using Oda forgetting to draw a character design, which is going to be like a common thing because Oda's been like drawing One Piece, thousands of different character designs, thousands of different things. He's not prone to remember the very, very distinct details about characters he drawn 10, 20 years ago. Again, him feeling sad or feeling sorrow about fucking up like a little detail about a character, like a character's design, does not translate him to feeling sorrow about whether or not he gave authorization to a external source to the manga. That's literally just not analogous what we're talking about. We can move on.
Yeah, look, I'll just quickly attack why it's analogous because this is like visual like indicator that is lacking, right? If it's not persistently indicated to the audience, then it does cause misinformation. And so him not drawing
Well,
something
no,
that
that's
the
not
audience.
misinformation. Because like it's kind of
But
like buggy. Like, wait, hold on. It's literally just this, right? Misinformation is when false details are given about something. Oda simply being inconsistent or forgetting to draw how a character looks. It's not misinformation. You could just look back at Oda designs. Okay, yeah, Garp has this Oda design. Why isn't Oda drawing it previously? Well, Oda's the basic guy. He probably forgot it. That isn't misinformation by definition. And in
the
the
problem
context
is,
that we're referring to, hold on, in the context that we're referring to, it's referring to again character designs. It's not referring to external sources.
okay, I get that, right? But the problem is that still leads information. Stuff like character designs and stuff that are integral to designs characters, such as a scar on someone's cheek, right? That's information that the audience resonates with, right? They can understand that character has a scar, right? So if you take them out, then it misleads people because now character's not drawn with a scar. It puts into question, does this character have that scar, right? Which is going to mislead people because obviously the answer should be yes. But the fact they can mislead people into questioning that when the answer should be yes, because character is usually drawn with a scar, does make it a problem, which is why Oda emphasizes as a
Also,
problem
like
that
in
he
this
said.
scenario, like yeah, that doesn't respond or address anything. In this like scan that you sent yourself, Oda doesn't even feel sorrow. He answers the question by saying, "Well, pretty much in simple words, the reasons why you don't see a scar is that the panels themselves aren't going to be drawn in all the way, and you'll only see it when it comes out in important moments." Basically, telling us that Oda doesn't feel the need to constantly draw every single character and draw like these distinct, minute details about them. For example, a sketch about Kaido. When he like draws a sketch about Kaido or rocks, he doesn't have to show every single minute detail about them. But of course, if it's an important moment, he's going to show that. He's if in the scanner he's in, he doesn't express sorry. He just says, "This is why this doesn't happen. If you feel bad, okay, give me back my book," and he just moves on to the next question. This doesn't even support your point. He's not even
Okay,
feeling sad about it.
I just fundamentally disagree with that because Oda literally says, "I'll be more time." Like he's just saying that, like, yeah, understand that I made an
That doesn't apply
artistic.
sorrowness or
Okay,
sadness or
maybe,
like that doesn't. But that doesn't. Okay, him
maybe,
saying yeah.
maybe one
That's
second,
all.
one
That's
second, one
all.
second.
Okay, in this context, hold on, hold on. In this
Yeah.
context, all he's saying is that yeah, next time I'll just pay more attention to detail and just add like these little minute details to Garp's character designs or sketches. Like this doesn't prove he's sad about this or is feeling remorseful about
Okay,
this.
okay. Maybe,
Especially like to add it in context.
okay, maybe to use the
Well, I
term
don't care for a
sadness.
maybe. I want like a exact
One
answer.
second,
I don't want
you
to
gotta
maybe.
give me some argument. Listen to my argument. Okay. So even if using the term like sadness and shit isn't the proper word, that's irrelevant to my argument. My argument is just the fact that he understands that this is not something that he wants to do and he will correct, right? It doesn't matter if he actually feels like that to the point that he's actually sad about it. The point is that just he doesn't want to do this again and he says he'll be more careful next time to do it. So that's my point that he does care about when like he does artistic errors like this, even if he knows that he because it's brought up in his SBS.
Okay, well, that's just like patching the original claim. The original claim is that he felt remorseful about this, but if it's gonna be switched to like he just pays like close attention to detail or is thoughtful about this, then again, as I said earlier, that's just going to be a reference to this context about character designs and not a reference to external things to the manga. Like there's two different contexts that we're going off
Listen,
of.
we can move on
It's
because
been,
one
it's been
second.
20 minutes. You guys should
Azrael,
open
yeah,
yourself.
Azrael, one sec, because I'm the one
No,
who's.
let me speak. Let me speak.
Yeah, so basically,
Okay.
we can move on, right? Because I feel like you're justified. I'm not gonna.
No, I don't want to move on. Like my team has something to say, so my teammate can say that.
Oh,
Azrael, can you
if you want,
speak?
yeah, if you
No,
want to bring up something,
yeah, I was just saying, can we move on to? It's still gonna be the same point as this. It's just gonna be a different sub point. So it's been like 20 minutes. You guys are looking for yourselves.
I'm
Yeah,
Are you guys
we
cool
can
with
move
moving
on
on,
to
or do you want
the
to something else?
guys. The only thing I will say that, because there's, I guess, the induction that I feel like you didn't attack right at this point, guard shit. So, with that being said, if Logan wants to either add on or bring up like another counter to your counter, then I'll wait for him. Logan, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just argue on the next point if you want. If you think you won this point, that's I'll just trust you.
If you feel like there's anything like relevant at least, that like you had on hand that you want to bring up, then I would suggest you do it now.
Yeah, I have some, but like, I'm not really trying to argue about canonicity. So if you believe you won the point, I'll believe you.
That's fine. We can move on to their
Yeah,
next
so we
counter.
can move on. So moving on, the kanji
Oh wait,
breakdown.
real quick. Oh, yeah, can I do the kanji thing real quick? Can you add on anything you want?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I posted another interpretation of the kanji within chat. Let me send that again real quick. I also included the breakdown of the kanji within this. A sec. What this goes. So within this translation, it does two of the four. It just says only the strongest remain. Two of the four emperors. Now under this wording, there's multiple other interpretations that you could go with. It's the two strongest remaining enemy pirates with the Broncos, or it could just be saying it's the strongest people generally remaining, which are the four emperors. Right? So there's other interpretations, but this doesn't necessarily have to be the two strong Broncos. And
The
I
problem
think,
is,
well, wait, let me finish. I also think you can say that my argument is low-key more likely than this interpretation is more likely than the other interpretation. Because Oda generally doesn't make statements like when it comes to like top tier characters like the young girls, he doesn't really make statements about how there's one top tier stronger than another top tier. Right? He generally makes he'll generally say they're like in power or they're equal in power. So I think it would make it interpretation or it's just literally saying one Yonko is stronger than another Yonko, less likely. You can respond now.
Yeah, to add on to that, our position is more favorable, seeing as that one, the kanji that you guys are using does not even mean that. It's basically like a mistranslation. As I was saying, because we sent the kanji breakdown from ChatGPT that uses other translations such as Jisho, which is like a Japanese dictionary to make it more, correct. It's simply just saying that the two remaining Yonkos, the two strongest remaining Yonkos. So the two Yonkos that remain within Wano are the strongest. Blackbeard and Shanks are not in Wano, so they're not even going to be included in the statement. And then two, our position, like my teammate said, Azrael, would be more likely, seeing as that whenever Oda is asked power scaling questions or related questions about who's stronger when it comes to like the top tier, high tier characters, he always deflects the question. For example, when he's asked who's stronger between, I think, Kizaru and Kuzan, he just outright deflects the question and refuses to answer. When he's asked who's stronger between Kaido and Akainu, again, he deflects the answer to like his mom and like your mom just being the strongest. So we have like this consistent theme that Oda just there's like also like another third scan. I'll see if I can find it. But Oda tries to keep things secret and private, because that way doesn't want to actually spoil the story. So it just be that it's just more consistent that Oda does not want to reveal the true power of characters, as it just take away from the story. If you already know Shanks is like the strongest in the race, it can be anybody else. It's just more likely and more favorable. It aligns with the narrative what Oda himself says and wants within the series compared to like just one statement. And then two, three. Actually, I'll say like the third thing later. You guys can address that.
Just to add on to that, there was another interview
All
where
right,
somebody asked if Shanks stronger.
one second, please. Because you should go to bed. I'm gonna
What?
Azrael,
Wait,
because you've been saying a lot. Wait, 1 second. Let me fucking finish, bro. Please. I'm gonna let you finish. But the problem is, right, that you and Trouble have been saying quite a bit, and I don't want to have a tracking here. There's like a billion shit to do. So I'm gonna read the scan.
I'm just gonna add one more example. I'm just gonna add one more example. That's it.
To the point where
Yeah, just add it. Just add it. I'll summarize everything. Just add it.
Yeah. Also, just another example of him like deflecting power questions. In the interview, he asked Roger kind of deflected by saying that it depends on who you ask within the verse. Some people just say Shanks is stronger, some people say Roger is strongest. That's just another example of him like deflecting power questions.
Okay.
These are just like certain. Oh, you got it, Lucas.
Logan, I'm gonna
I
read
continue.
what they said. I'm gonna read what they said and I'll devise a counter, but because I want to see exactly what they're showing here. You say whatever you want at the
Alright. Yeah, those are just certain like characters that Oda doesn't want to know like who's stronger than one another, like who like he wants to keep secretive. It doesn't mean like other characters he can't just say like this person's stronger. Like we have examples in the stories like, when he calls the admiral stronger than Garp, or when he calls Whitebeard the strongest pirate or strongest man. He just blatantly says shit like this.
Yeah, that's a non sequitur because that's just Oda giving us descriptive factors about how strong a character individually is. For example, the admirals are like the strongest fighting force within the Navy. That isn't just what we're saying. Whitebeard, he's giving oh my gosh, he's again gives us descriptive factors about these characters' powers. He's not giving us descriptive factors about okay, if these two people fight, how are they going to win? He doesn't do that. That's just a non sequitur. We can move on.
Yeah, no, he just puts like he says when people are the strongest of a certain group, like when Whitebeard is the strongest pirate, when the admirals are the strongest in the navy, just like when these two Yonko are the strongest of this like certain group in the Yonko, right? It's just some certain top tiers he's okay with putting like saying like yeah these are certainly stronger than one another, but
Yeah,
other certain
because
top tiers like Shanks or Roger he wants to keep more secretive.
well, no. Other top tiers, unless he plans on like revealing the character's power from the story, he's going to keep it secret. Again, it's not addressed what we're saying because our whole point is that when it's character A versus character B, he refused to give an answer. But him giving us like exact quantifications of how strong a character is within the series or top tiers, he does this all the time. For example, Mihawk is the strongest swordsman. Kaido, he gets the title of like having the strongest creature shit or whatever. Blackbeard has like he's the strongest because he has like the two devil fruits. Whitebeard's like the strongest man. Miko's called the strongest man. Roger is called like the king of the pirates, who has like its own narrative, of, like being the strongest. Who's like another top tier? Garb rivals. Like he has given us quantifications for characters. For example, Rox. When Rox first introduced, he's like, yeah, Rox is like Roger's greatest and strongest threat he's ever faced. So Oda has no. He's very comfortable giving us descriptive values about how strong a character is. But when it's against a character versus another character, he seems to be refusing consistently most of the time. If you want, we can just conclude.
Are we not is the scan that we're using not just like one character over or two people over a certain like group of people? It's not just like this exact
The
character
standard
compared to
reasoning,
this exact character.
the
It's
standard reasoning
these,
is trying
these
to
two
assert
characters
that
compared to the rest of the Yonko. Just like it's say like this like this one character compared to like the rest of the swordsmen.
the
So, well,
issue with
the
that is that.
difference. Okay, just
Oh,
like,
I'll say. Yeah, go
I,
ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the difference is in these other statements, it's like a whole category of people. It's like hundreds, maybe thousands of people within that, right? Strongest swordsman includes all swordsmen. Strongest man includes all men. The strongest fighting force includes all the Navy people. Well, this is just like a handful of people.
Yeah, then
So
two,
it
Yeah,
is.
why
It's
do
just
you think?
category
you
different.
guys just
Why do you think the
Hey,
size is
hold
relevant?
on. To add on to that. You guys' statement for one is already in question if it's even canon, and you should even take it to be the case. Two, let's assume that we do say, yeah, that is canon. We're now signing.
We'll move
We're
on
now
from the
saying,
canon
okay,
point. Move on from the canon point.
I'm
Yeah,
just
you
explaining.
already argued about it.
I'm just explaining. I'm just
Don't
explaining.
bring up the canon point. It's not relevant.
Again, it is very relevant. Again, the whole point of this scan is that you guys are trying to assert that Big Mom and Kaido, more relevantly, Kaido is said to be the strongest within this set group, that being Shanks, Blackbeard, and Big Mom. But what we're saying is that the kanji itself just doesn't even say that. Like, it's just a mistranslation. So we can just move on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Logan, do you still
the
want
kanji is a whole separate point. Like as long as you drop the point that characters usually aren't stated to be above each other, like usually. But yeah, it's a
Again,
whole different
you're like
point.
not understanding this. When okay, let's say you have like a fan matchup, that being Kaido versus Kizaru, and you ask Oda, if Kaido and Kizaru fought, who's going to win? What seems to be the case, and consistently is the case, is that Oda is not going to answer a question, but instead he's going to deflect the question to something else. But when it comes to giving us descriptive factors about, Kaido's power, Kizaru's power, Oda has no issue with revealing to us how strong these characters are. So them being strong individually, that's not the issue. It's when these two characters are being competed against each other, that's when the issue arises, which we're just not understanding. Again, we can just move
Yes,
on.
no. Yeah, he compares, say, like Kizaru and Garp when he calls Kizaru the strongest in the Navy. That's two top tiers. I don't think the size of like the Yonko, what Azrael said earlier, the size of like the Yonko being smaller, I don't think that matters, or what. I don't see why it's relevant.
Okay,
Why
so
would it
for
not
like
be
the Navy
relevant?
armor
Wait,
position,
hold on, hold on, hold on.
That,
Hold on.
bro,
Why
no,
would it not be
that's what
relative?
I'm
The point,
asking. That's what I'm asking you, buddy.
I'm because I'm using the features of the class to create a distinction, right? So I'm making just that's how to word this. So like in one example, so within one set, there's like this what I'm gonna call it. There's a certain quantity that doesn't exist on the other side, and that's why we can make a distinction between those two classes based on that.
Yeah, there's a distinction. Why is it relevant?
Oh,
There's a
give me
distinction. Why is it relevant?
give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
yeah, and then two, the Navy position, that's not a comparison. That's just him saying, okay, Kizaru from the Navy admirals is stronger because he's an admiral. He's stronger than all other characters, not all characters, all people below him. That doesn't tell us,
It,
okay, if Kizaru and Garp fought, who would actually win? Like that's just in question. That was in question, but that's what we're like, arguing for. Again, that doesn't
it, it
do
does.
anything.
It does.
Again, he's saying that okay, Kizaru has okay. That's not even like an analogous example because he also says that yeah, Garp himself qualifies for the admiral position. So Kizaru being an admiral wouldn't even necessarily put him above the likes of Garp. But assuming it does, why
No,
does that put two wins in the fight?
no, you didn't. You didn't say like this. The statement isn't the admirals are the strongest in the Navy because they're admirals. Is these admirals are the three strongest in the Navy?
Yeah, that's
Just
giving us descriptive factors about these characters' individual strength and where they compare to everybody else. That doesn't tell us that okay, if these guys fought Garp, can they actually win?
it does because they're better fighters.
Well, Garp also has the exact same statements. And again, like being a better
No,
fighter,
he
again,
doesn't.
does that translate to who wins? Because
Where
Garp
are
has
these
very
statements?
hockey.
He has the same
Garp
statements.
is
Where are they?
hold on. Garp has hockey. Garp is been sticky to like contain like his prime strength that can like press a sick and prime Whitebeard. Again, like this does not tell us who actually wins in the fight.
Some
Because if
of
it
the
was, then it would be very,
strength.
very obvious and clear.
Teaser though. It
You said
stated
what?
he's a weaker fighter. It means he fights worse.
You said
It means he
what?
loses.
That's just a
I said a
question.
lot.
Yeah, let's say Kizaru is a better fighter because this is during the entire debate. Let's say he is a better fighter. That means he can like accomplish things more efficiently compared to Garp, who can be like a more sloppy fighter. Why does that mean that he can then beat Garp in a fight? For example, Garp can have like relative speed and AP skill to Kizaru that can allow him to beat him. You're not answering this question. And then two, this is analogous to what we're saying.
So if you're if you're a better fighter in some way, then that means you have the tools to fight better and like win a fight.
No, if you're a better fighter, somebody, generally speaking, it just means you have more experience than this person and can accomplish things more efficiently. But whether or not that leads to you actually beating the person in question
That does,
is
that's just not what
ambiguous.
it means. It doesn't mean experience.
Again, I said generally speaking. So if in like the context of One Piece,
Hmm?
for example, let's take the Gorosei, I think have been alive for actually no, let's take Elbaf. Elbaf, these niggas have been fighting for what? I think hundreds of years. So Dory and Broggy would be better fighters, for example, to somebody like Shanks, because Shanks has only been alive for I think Shanks is like what 30, 40. Dory and Broggy have like 100. They've been fighting for like 70 years. They're gonna be better fighters than Shanks, but why does that mean that they can beat Shanks because they're a better fighter? And that doesn't give us a direct comparison between who wins between the two. Again, you're not understanding the question. You're not understanding anything. We just move on.
Oh yeah. So what would you and how would you interpret like being a better fighter then?
I don't think that's relevant to what's being said.
I,
Wait, did Logan?
I think it. What's up,
Well,
Lucas?
you can hold that belief. We can just move on or conclude.
What's up, Lucas?
Okay. Logan, do you still want to press him on that?
How do you got bored out? You can tap in if you want.
Because overall, right, the main problem with both of your arguments, even within, you have to explicitly show me where, right? But even within the scans that Trouble send, never does ChatGPT ever say that what I'm saying is wrong. In fact, the only thing they say explicitly that I can read, right, is that They say, quote unquote, but it does not imply that they are objectively stronger than the other two Yonko. But they don't say why. For example, they don't say it's a translation issue because even in that same fucking scan, they do say that they're the two strongest Yonko. But the reason why ChatGPT may not say that this means that they're stronger than the other Yonko, e.g., Shanks and Blackbeard, could be because ChatGPT doesn't know if Shanks and Blackbeard were Yonko at that point in time, if they were at their prime at their point in time. So it doesn't have to be because of a translation error that ChatGPT says it doesn't mean that they're stronger than the other two Yonko, Shanks and Blackbeard. Rather than the entailment of the statement can still mean, as they even translate, right, the phrase two strongest Yonko, which they translate above, right, the entailment of that statement can still mean that they're stronger than the other two Yonko, right? But if Shanks and Blackbeard weren't Yonko, or if they weren't at their prime as they are in the current story, which ChatGPT may not know, then that's why ChatGPT may say that it does not necessarily entail that Big Mom and Kaido
Oh my
are
God,
stronger
that's
than
like
Shanks.
okay, yeah. That whole argument presupposes that the reason it's saying is because it lacks like this specific information. Again, I think that's just unnecessary. That's unnecessary skepticism. And then two, ChatGPT lacking the information. Like you have to prove that because it lacks this information, it would then translate to this thing. All it knows, based off what we've given to them, is okay. We need you to translate what this kanji says and give us the exact and faithful meaning to what it would be translated into the English dictionary. This is what it's doing. It's not saying, oh, this is only the case because they're not in their prime. And again, I know that prime is even being brought up. I think that's just again like irrelevant and just again presuppositional. Two, the whole point of this translation is that it does not deny that there's like it does not deny that the kanji, the strongest in Yonko, are mentioned. But what it's saying is that this kanji, the implication does not say or does not lead to what is it? It is not like the translation, if it's translated to what it actually means and the implication of what it actually means, does not translate to these two are the strongest Yonko in comparison to the other Yonkos. All it says is that the remaining Yonko that are within Wano are the strongest. The two other Yonkos are now within Yonko. The two other Yonkos are now within Wano. So your whole point just didn't track anything. We can just move on. Azariel, do you
The
want to say
problem is,
anything? Or no?
no,
Hold on, hold on.
I'll
Hold on. Azariel, do you want to say anything? Azariel, are you there? Let me read the statement real
he's
quick.
just, all right, he's just not responding, so I'll respond to what you said. Because my interpretation is more aligned with what they specifically say, right? ChatGPT still translates it to be the two strongest emperors, right? So the reason why ChatGPT is saying that does not necessarily mean that they're stronger than Shanks and Blackbeard. We don't know what that is, and it would be your burden to prove that it would have to be because the translation itself does not entail that when they're literally translating that. So my interpretation is also actually, if anything, more consistent with what ChatGPT actually translates. So you would have to prove, right? It'd be your burden to say that the reason why ChatGPT is saying, "Oh, it doesn't inherently imply that they are objectively stronger than the other two Yonko," couldn't be for their own interpretation, right? And whatever like other arbitrary reason, like I gave examples earlier that you
It
do not
verbatim
prove.
says note grammatically, which again, like Lugan says, it's just semantically, how is this going to be used within a context to a story, a manga? How is it going to be written down? Again, it says grammatically or semantically. You have the kanji listed, then it says means the two Yonko who are the strongest, not the two Yonko who, the two Yonko amongst the Yonko. Yeah, it literally just tells us that if you guys' translation is saying it's actually true, the kanji itself would be phrased differently. But because it's not phrased like that, this is what what is it grammatically or semantically mean within itself. So I think for like your kanji and for what you're saying, all you ask is like, yeah, what does this translate to? Does not say, oh, what does this translate to? And gives an actual breakdown of the kanji itself and the actual implications of what it is. You're just asking a more vague and arbitrary translation. We're asking a more in-depth translation of what this actually means. And it doesn't
Uh,
align with like you guys are whatever you're saying.
the problem is that this still contradicts. Like, okay, you're trying to. Okay, I'm looking at the third scan. My bad, I didn't see this one where it says that ChatGPT. The problem with this one, really, that I'm going to say right now, is the fact that this is contradicting what I was showing earlier. Because in your scan here, it's saying that it would have to mean the two Yonko who are not the strongest, and that just grammatically it's not phrased as the two strongest among the Yonko, which is literally what in your example and the one that I posted, ChatGPT two times translates it this way, and there are other sites, right? So inductively, there's more cases to show that it'll be translated this way. And as to your claim, right, where you're saying that in that third scan, it's translated more advanced, I would like to show a justification for this because I don't inherently think that by looking at what the kanji means, right, that it's going to give a more accurate translation because that's already implicitly what's being done when they're looking at what the kanji means to give you a translation, right? So sure, they can be doing it in a different format where they're like breaking down the kanji first, right? But they're still implicitly doing that if they're going to look at what the kanji means to give a full translation. So in no way can you give any reasoning for why your third scan there Where in this example, ChatGPT doesn't do what, like in our examples, our other examples, it does by saying the two strongest emperors directly. In your one example there, it says the two Yonko who are the strongest. There's no reason why that would be translated more sufficiently than other websites and other instances of ChatGPT going against that.
Yeah, again, so one, for you to say like its induction to be likelihood, we would need similar, not even similar, we would need exact replicas of the data set to claim this. All you're again doing is just saying, yeah, take this kanji and translate it. What we're saying is, okay, based off using the exact same website, you're saying this again, an arbitrary, more vague thing to go off of. We're saying the reason why it would be more advanced is because of this, right? We're asking for more in-depth and explanations what this actually means, to look into it more internally, to examine the statement even more, to see what it actually translates to, instead of just saying, yo, translate this, compared to translate this, give us the kanji, what do the kanji mean? Generally speaking, what does this translate to? What's the most consistent definition that this could be used for in context to this, that, and that? That's what we're doing. Two, you're saying I only have one example. In the second to the first scan, it literally just says that, yeah, it's more like it's more like a dramatic implication that these two are like quote unquote stronger than the other. So again, we have a consistent thing. If you want, I think we can just conclude.
Okay, well, the second scan, again, I already said why they can say that doesn't necessarily mean that they're stronger than Shanks and Blackbeard. And as for your argument, right, it basically doesn't really attack mine because, as I said, everything that you described, looking at the kanji, what it means, and all this, is implicitly already done when they're translating the full the kanji set to give a translation of the full thing. But we can move on then. Yeah, we can move on. And I'll go into your point that you discussed with Logan because I didn't really get a chance to give my 2 cents on that. Your claim was that Oda feels the need to like commonly deflect the question, right, about top tiers, right? The problem is that just because Oda does this in certain instances, right, in no way does this map out onto the fact that he'll do this all the time. In fact, there are multiple times with the fact that 3 people in One Piece literally have titles saying that they're superlative relative to the rest of the fucking world in one aspect, right? Like Mihawk being the strongest swordsman, Whitebeard being the strongest man and pirate, and Kaido being the strongest creature. Oda in no way is shying away from having these statements. So to say that it would be less likely for them to have this statement of making Kaido and Big Mom superlative relative to like other people. In fact, that's already contradictory because no matter which interpretation, right? Even if you want to say this is just saying that they're the strongest in Wano, it's still comparing Kaido and Big Mom to other people, right? It's just comparing them to a different set of people. And with other examples, right? Even if Oda is sometimes doesn't want to do this, examples you said, there are many times where he's perfectly comfortable, and it would still have to be this case where he's doing that in this instance for the reason I already explained. So you have no explanatory power to say that Oda would not be trying to phrase this as a superlative
Did we
statement.
not
Okay, one,
go over this with
and
Lucas?
Oh, you
yeah,
went
I'll
over it
explain it again.
With Logan.
Yeah, I'll just explain it one more time. We're not denying the fact that they're like having like this higher combative assertion over others. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that generally speaking, when compared to another individual, Oda does not do this. I verbatim agreed and explained that Kaido and many other characters had these superlative statements above the verse, but why does that translate to who's stronger between one another? For example, Whitebeard's the strongest man, yet it's stated to be uh yet hold on, let me think real quick. Wyber said to be the strongest man, yet he fights relative to another man, that being Akin, who can damage him. What is it? Miyoko's not the world's strongest swordsman, yet he was a rival to Shanks. Again, so we have these statements that quote unquote put you above somebody, but in actuality, it's just giving us a quantification about this character's individual strength. Hold on. It's giving us a quantification about this character's individual strength. And it's not actually telling us who would win between two characters. You guys are not understanding that.
Uh,
Again, I've already addressed that.
th-
Azir, you can like add
y-
on, we can just conclude.
yeah. Just to add on to that, like when it comes to the admirals example, that's kind of like attributed to their title as admirals. We already have like a statement of Garp still being strong enough to be considered an admiral, so that still wouldn't like put them over Garp. And Son Goku isn't really a fighting force. You know, we don't see him like actively fighting outside of
Yeah,
the
we already
times he's like
already
attacked.
responded to that.
Okay,
I
wait,
already
Logan.
responded to that
I'll
when
give,
Trouble
I'll give,
started.
wait, I'll give my own response to what they're saying. The problem is, right, that first off, right? So you're saying that you're already conceding, right, that by this being a combative related statement, that they're relating on like who combatively is superior, right? It would be indexed to who's going to be better in a fight, right? So the problem is that with your examples of contradictions of this, they aren't related. So sure, Whitebeard and Akainu can be relative, Mihawk and Shanks can be relative, but one can just be slightly over the other. That's still coexisting and in no way is a contradiction. Now, as to what
We're
Azrael
not saying
brought
it's
up
a
as a
contradiction.
One sec, I'm
And
not done.
again,
Wait, one
okay.
sec, bro. I need to address what Azrael said. As what Azrael said to the admirals being the strongest force, that could just simply be wrong. That doesn't have to be entirely right. I don't know what source says that, but it could just be wrong about that. Um, so that's
Okay,
Wrong
basically
wait,
about
hold on,
what?
I don't wait,
Wait,
hold on, hold on, hold
wrong
on,
about
hold
what?
on. That's what your teammate like Logan brought up. So if you're gonna go against that, you should like consult with him first because like that's gonna cause like internal like maybe disagreements. That was Logan's whole point. He brought up the Admirals being the strongest. If you're gonna dismiss that and
I'm not.
concede that, that's fine. That rebuttal just
Well, you
drops
have to
to an hour
understand
point.
trouble. I'm not going against because I'm not inherently saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it like in my own purview. I'm not contradicting what Logan said. But at the same
Again, we're not
time, right?
asserting contradictions. If you're just okay, and if you say like the agnostic standpoint, that just undermines what he's saying because he's saying this definitively. You're saying, I don't know, it could be this, it could not be.
Wait,
He's saying this definitively
so
is
what's
this.
going on?
I
That's
would prefer
I
you
that's
just
guys. Yeah,
what are
that's
we
I would
that's
prefer you
fine.
guys
what are
to
we doing?
explore
What
it,
are we
That's
guys.
fine. That's fine, right? Because neither of our debunks like contradict each other, and both of them are valid debunks, or at least like within our own shared view, both of them are valid debunks without it going against each other. Like if I remain in an agnostic position, right, and Logan remains in an affirmative position, right, I'm not trying to argue with Logan saying that he's wrong, right? I'm just saying that even if we were to take this as agnostic, right, which is what I'm gonna do, that it would still not be inherently true because what Azrael's trying to argue is for the entailment of what it means to be stronger being contradicted, but that's not contradicted if it's just possible that it's not true. And by Logan saying that it is true, that's his own version of the debunk. They're not going against each other and affirming that in any way. So
Okay, if that's who you guys
Lucas, I'm
believe.
not.
I've
Well,
already
just to clarify, Lucas, I'm not saying it's necessarily true. I'm just positing another interpretation. Just to clarify.
yeah, again, right, we're not like again, we're not asserting contradictions here. That's a very, big claim. We're not saying, yeah, this is true, but at least a contradiction, therefore it's not true. That's not what we're doing here. And then two, due to like all the ramble, I kind of forgot some points. Let me just jog my memory real quick. Um, the whole point that you just brought up with Logan, that's already been addressed. As for the combative point, right? That is just going off your translation. Assuming a quote unquote issue that's asking question doesn't even lead to that. Let's say they are called, the quote unquote strongest Yonkos relative to that of Wano. Shanks and Blackbeard aren't in Wano. If the statement is true and the title is true, we see consistently that these titles being true does not lead to somebody being above somebody. Or being like, okay,
And
for example, going like the Milk shit. Milk is said to be the world's strongest swordsman. Yet in the novels and external things, it says these guys were rivals. They were going neck for neck. There was no like their relative of Milk's like an edge. It was literally just they're going blow for blow. You can't decide who's actually winning between the two. So again, I think we can just conclude. I thought we addressed everything. As you're able to ask anything you
right.
can.
yeah, to add. Wait, Lucas, you've been talking the entire time. Can I just add on one
Okay,
point?
fine.
No, I will let Lucas respond to trouble.
Wait, one sec. I'll let you talk. You're just gonna add something short supporting his point because I don't want to like deal with like a million things that I have to like sort in my
Yeah,
mind.
I'm just restarting something to like strengthen his point, which is just another interpretation. With like the early translation has said, we could just interpret them as being the two strongest pirates on Yonko on what the call it on Wano, or you can go with another
All right,
interpretation
we
as
already
the two. As the,
but we already went over that. So we're just going to the point about like Oda making statements of superlative. Like that specific counter is different from the one you're bringing up. And we
okay,
already concluded. Yeah.
uh,
So about the Shanks thing, right? About the Shanks thing, right? So okay, sure, they might have gone blow to blow in the past, but why does that map onto like right now, right? Like Mihawk can be the strongest right now, and he could like in the past have been equal to Mihawk. I mean equal to Shanks, right? So it's like if Shanks isn't at the if like Mihawk got stronger or Shanks got weaker or both happened, right? Then that would still make it consistent without positing a contradiction. So this
am
isn't
I
really
I
tripping?
about
can,
Am I
yeah,
tripping, or
go.
isn't there still a statement? Isn't there still a statement that says Shanks is still equal to Mihawk? Or am I
um
misremembering that?
I
For
mean
when we have
there
no
are
reason,
statements that say
if we
the
have no reason
opposite.
or motivation, it being in the past doesn't say that, okay, well, because it's in the past, why does it map over to now? That's kind of in itself presupposing that something happened to where we cannot map this over. We need evidence for that or some sort of motivation to believe this. It's also just state that Shanks did not lose his strength. So the same strength that rivaled Mihawk in the past is still existent in the current day. I thought, like, we can just conclude. I don't think
Yeah,
this really
I was
matters.
sorry, I'll respond to that real quick. So the problem is that's not my burden, right? You're trying to posit a contradiction to what this means because you're showing an example of how this cannot mean this by showing Mihawk and Shanks being equal, right? But it'd be your burden to prove that Shanks didn't get weaker and Mihawk didn't get stronger, right? At the same time, I would say that there could be a reason for Mihawk to get stronger because if he is equal to Shanks, right, and they want to vie for supremacy, then obviously it would incentivize Mihawk to train to become better than Shanks. Also, the statement that you referenced about Shanks not losing strength could just be reference to physical strength and whatnot. but it wouldn't impact combat ability because swordsmanship and how you handle your sword is something that's going to go into like how he fights Shanks. I mean, how he fights Mihawk. That's not going to affect his physical strength with his arms or his hockey potency, but it will affect his combat ability. So that's kind of irrelevant to the point of saying that like he is still equally as valuable as a combatant to Mihawk. In addition, there's a statement that just says that he's weaker than Mihawk. I can send that.
Yeah, again, this whole statement, like this whole point that we're going over, is again extremely irrelevant. If I'll explain it again, let's assume once again that Mihawk is stronger consistently, and we haven't seen or observed. This does not translate to him being above every single person with a sword or who has a sword. Because Viper has a sword, but he has 20 plus statements of being stronger than Mihawk. So again, it literally just doesn't map onto what you're saying. You guys are again going off of a misinterpretation of our argument. We can just conclude after
Okay,
going
fine.
like 2 minutes.
Wait, you brought up something new. I would just say that it's considering, especially in context of Zoro's goal, Zoro wanted to be the strongest by beating Mihawk in a fight, so that's contextualization in itself. In addition to what I said earlier, what you already agreed to, it is combative related on like who would win in a fight, because it's also what Zoro indexes it to. He's trying to beat Mihawk in a fight, and Mihawk says, "When you beat me, you will be the strongest." Now, I'll let you to prove that Whitebeard is a swordsman. I'll let you to prove that that's a sword that he's using, because you're positing that as another contradiction. Prove that's a sword.
Again, one, the whole point, the whole claim was that Whitebeard has a sword. Whitebeard's sword is just, I think it's kind of like the Naranomi. It's stated on like the 12 black grade supremes, right? And he's also stated to have like swordsmanship. Two, for the title itself being combative, that's just going circular. Like that's already assumed from the
Yeah.
title itself. All right, so that doesn't matter. The Zero point doesn't matter. Um,
Yeah.
I'll just get this Whitebeard statement and we conclude because I have to like, I won't be able to like speak for like another 2 minutes. I have to go, so we can just
Yes, fine,
end this
fine.
shit.
I'll say this. I don't think we really countered that. That's okay because I don't want to also extend on that, so we can just end it off there. Except for the whole Whitebeard shit. Just when it comes to the Whitebeard thing, I'd like you to send a swordsmanship statement because Whitebeard having a blade, I'd like you to prove that a blade is the same thing as a sword.
Yeah, it's just stated
The
in the top 12 Supreme swords. And like Mihawk's sword is also called a blade. Like they're interchangeable within the likes of One Piece. That's kind of ratty.
Wait, a sword can be a blade, but doesn't necessarily mean that a blade is also a sword.
Okay, whatever you say, bro.
Wait, but yeah, because that's just not an argument. It's non sequitur, right? Because if Mihawk's sword is a blade because blades are swords, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all blades are gonna be swords, then Whitebeard could just have a blade that's not a sword, and Mihawk can have a blade that is a sword. That's perfectly fine. I really wouldn't really support your argument, you know?
Yeah, but that's just being ratty.
What? Okay, well you can think that.
Yeah, for
Just
example, we know that like somebody that is made out of blades who isn't classified as being a sword user at all is like that whatever that like fucking shit that Crocodile made, like his upper one, right? His whole thing is just being
Azrael.
made out of blades, don't change it to swords. Like
Wait, so
like
doesn't that go wait, doesn't that go against your position
but
of
again, we can just end it off.
One
We can
sec, one
just
sec. Let me
again
ask
end
you.
it
Let me
off
ask you
here.
this. Let me ask you this question. Does it not go against your position if there's a man made out of blades who is not called a swordsman? Like he uses blades, right? But he's not called a swordsman, thus proving that blades aren't inherently going to be swords.
No, that doesn't go against my position. The position is that you're saying that what is it? Um, blades and swords can be this distinct thing. So Wiper's thing being a blade, what is it? It can be like a blade and not a sword. I'm saying yeah, there's a distinct thing between blades and swords. He, under my view, we're already assuming he has a sword and not a blade. Like we're just not understanding that.
I mean, wait, but if you're not asserting, or if you can't make it more likely that he doesn't have a sword, then in no way can you posit that Whitebeard being a swordsman goes against Mihawk's title being combative related by saying that he can't beat Whitebeard, who's also a swordsman. Do you not understand the flaw
Oh,
there?
no, I'm not. I never once claimed he's a swordsman. I said Whitebeard has more titles, not more titles. He has more statements of being stronger than the likes of Mihawk, when he should be weaker because he possesses something that Mihawk is said to be above.
That's that's already what's in
But I'm let me
question.
find the
We're
statement real
just
quick.
going
Let me
circular.
just
We're
find
just
the
going
statement.
circular. Okay,
Yeah, I'll
you
just
can.
find the
oh,
statement real quick.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I think we can end the point here. Like third circular.
Yeah, I just got
Um,
one more quick thing to say.
Yeah, I'll say this then.
okay, so
Since
Let me see.
real
Whitebeard
quick.
being a swordsman, since
Well,
Whitebeard
okay.
being a swordsman like contradicts the series and contradicts the statements, I just think that gives like more likelihood to me and Lucas's interpretation.
It's just feeling. We can just save the recording here. It's like hella long.
Wow.
Wait. What's